Hello, happy mamas. How are you? So, I hope you had a lovely weekend, and mine was pretty good. I kept in touch with you ladies and told you what was happening with me. We went to go see Moana and all these fun stuff. We also did some art together. So, I hope you had a nice weekend, but now it's Monday and we're back to business. And that means I'm back here with you. I actually had quite a busy day, so I haven't been quite as present today as I'd like to be, but busy is good. And today I want to talk to you about your inner voice or your inner critic or that critical voice inside. So I know we all have that voice. We all have that voice inside that tells us that we're not good enough, that we look horrible, that we don't know what we're doing, that we're stupid, and all those like really horrible things that we wouldn't ever actually say to anybody else. We actually say to ourselves. And I'm talking to you from experience because, and I talked a little bit about this last week, I have that critical voice too, even though I know that I'm very encouraging and, motivating other people is one of my primary missions in life. Hi, Debbie. Motivating people is one of my primary missions in life, and it's probably because I spend so much time trying to motivate myself and to try to knock that inner critic out of my being. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that inner critic, she's a part of you. She will always be a part of you, and there's no way that you're going to just cut her off or kill her as much as we would like to. That inner critic, and that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk to you about who that inner critic is. So that inner critic is there to protect you. That inner critic is there to protect you from doing anything that feels uncomfortable, from stepping outside of your boundaries, from improving yourself. That inner critic is there to stop you from doing anything that does not feel safe. And immediately, when you are stretching yourself past a comfort zone, she's going to kick in and she's going to be like, really? Do you really think you could do that? I don't think so. And she's there to protect you. Because if you step out of that comfort zone, you may, you may evolve as a person and become someone different. And that inner critic is not sure what the consequences of evolving are going to be. So I like to describe her as that best friend that you had all through elementary school, and then you get to high school, and suddenly you got a. I'm describing a situation that you may or may not be able to relate to, but the picture that I'm going to paint hopefully will be one that whether or not you resonate with it in your, or whether or not the story is your actual story, I hope that you can resonate with it. So you've seen enough movies that you've seen this happen. So the inner critic is that best friend you had all through elementary school, and then you get to high school, and you get like the lead role in the play, and you get invited to a party, and a cute boy seems to be interested, and your best friend, who was there for you all through elementary school, suddenly is feeling that there may be no room left for her in your life. So she starts whispering things into your ear, like, yeah, so you got the lead. Well, really, like everybody else that auditioned sucked. Yeah, you were invited to this party, but that's just because you got the lead to this play. It's not because of who you are. Yeah, this cute boy is interested in you, but he's only interested in one thing, and you're just another notch on his belt. Right? Now, obviously, we're all past high school, but each one of us, I am quite certain, understands what it was like to be in high school. And to, if something like that was to happen to you, how that would feel. And how that best friend might feel, thinking that you're gaining popularity, and maybe she is not. Maybe she is still quite private and feels alone, and you're her only friend, and she doesn't want to get left at the lunch table by herself because you're out gallivanting with the popular kids. That is your ego. That inner critical voice is your ego protecting you from getting hurt. There is some truth to that, that best friend who, although may have subconsciously some selfish reasons for keeping you where you're at, but she's also worried that you're going to get hurt. She's also concerned for you that maybe the picture that she's painting is real, and that's that you're not being fully appreciated for who you are, for the beautiful, heart-centered person that you are, and that you're going to get taken advantage of because you're too sweet. So that's what I, want to share with you, is that this inner critic is trying to protect you. She is trying to be a friend, but she is trying to be a friend out of fear. Hi, Brooke. How are you doing? So your inner critic is trying to be a friend because she's afraid of who you're going to be. And this is connected to your identity, right? Because, if you are someone who, if you were in high school and you were not the popular kid, or you were overweight, or you were, any of those typical things that people bash themselves about, like on a personal level, like didn't have any boyfriends, was not the model or the cheerleader or whatever, maybe was the nerd in school, right? That you begin to identify with those parameters, right? You begin to identify as the fat kid, or you begin to identify as the nerd, or that's why we label, we feel this need to be labeled. Like, you identify with the cool kids, you identify with, the losers, or, whatever it is. But you yourself, even if you have your group of friends, sometimes you identify, and especially in high school, you get into those cliques, right? Or those cliques. And those things exist as moms, and we all know that because we've all been part of that dynamic where, you have the moms that, do everything, and the moms that do nothing, as perceived by society. Okay, this is not a judgment. Again, as you know, I don't judge people and their situations. But what I'm saying is the classifications, right? The classification of that mom who's always late. The classification of that mom who's a mess. The classification of that mom who works out 15 times a day. The classification of, the well-to-do moms who go out on lunches with their friends. Whatever the case may be. The reality is much different. And if you were to put the shoes on of any one of those people who have been classified under those terms or under those labels, you'll see that there's a lot more to it. There is a lot more to that image. There's a lot more. And in some cases, they are trapped by their own image. And so this is where the ego comes in, right? The ego comes in to protect you, to keep you in that image, because that's what you've identified with. So the second that you start stepping outside of that comfort zone, outside of that image, outside of that identifiable place, your ego's like, no, you don't want to be a part of that. You don't want to go in there. That's not you, right? And I mean, the easiest thing for me to use as an example is weight and weight loss, because that's one of those things that's, it's easy to see the transformation, right? So if you're someone who always identified as a big woman or overweight, and then suddenly, and I had this conversation with a friend of mine today, suddenly you start working out and you start eating better. And this is why people who, start getting into that diet mentality, often like get on the wagon, get off the wagon, get on the wagon, get off the wagon, because there is this ego that kicks in. That's like, you don't belong here. You don't belong in this group. And your ego, as soon as you start like succeeding in many cases, you're going to fall back into old habits and old patterns, and it will fight you on establishing new habits and new patterns, because those new habits and new patterns are different and they are uncomfortable, and they're going to bring the type of transformation that you may not be sure of or comfortable with or know who you're going to be at the end of that journey, right? So that's just one of the examples. But this also happens on a mental level. It also happens when you are transitioning from having a career to being a stay-at-home mom, or from being a stay-at-home mom to having a career. Whenever you're stepping out of your comfort zone, or becoming a mom entrepreneur, which I know we have a lot in our group of women who are who were stay-at-home moms and decided to launch their own businesses to kind of have a little bit of the both worlds. And there's a lot of transformation that has to happen here, and your ego is constantly like, you think you can do this? You're taking time away from your children. Who do you think you are? And there's that guilt and that critical voice that just keeps playing over and over again, reminding you to stay in your comfort zone, reminding you to stay where you are. And I'm going to tell you a secret. The louder that voice gets, the closer you are to stepping outside of your comfort zone and actually succeeding. And I have this happen with clients of mine all the time, where they get into a groove, and let's say it's a weight loss journey. Suddenly, like, they've lost a bunch of weight and they're doing great, or their business is doing amazing and things are on a roll and they feel like they're in a flow. And all of a sudden, something happens. It's like some drama gets dropped into their lap, and they have to face this challenge, which essentially will make them have to make a decision as to how to address this particular problem. And the way they deal with that particular problem is either going to propel them to the next level, which they were already on the journey, or it's going to bring them back to where they were, back to being comfortable. So let's say, like I said, I only use weight loss because it's an easy thing to visualize, and all of us as women have struggled with weight loss at some point. 98% of women have struggled with their weight at some point. So that's why I use it. It's not a judgment on anything going on in your life or, whatever. Okay, so that being said, you're trucking along, you're in your journey, you've been working out every day, feeling good, you've lost a significant amount of weight, and all of a sudden, something happens in your life. You get into a huge fight with your husband. You have some sort of drama come up, as part of the PTA, or you get a job offer, which is going to make you change your routine. So something happens that shakes you, where you have to potentially change your routine, or it's a trigger from the past, something that used to make you give up on your journey, whether it's like a trigger that used to make you, go to the pantry or go to the fridge. That's going to show up again, and maybe in a really big way. And that is your opportunity to tell that critical voice, because that critical voice is going to be like, just give this up, man. You deserve a piece of chocolate cake for this. You deserve to just not go for your run tomorrow. You deserve to stop this. Just enjoy your life, like whatever it might be, and that critical voice is going to say the exact thing that's going to make you want to give up on your journey, whatever that journey is. And what you need to say to that inner voice, to that inner critic, you need to say, you know what? Thank you so much for trying to protect me. Thank you so much for working hard to make sure that I fit in, that I am comfortable with who I am. But it's time for me to go to the next level. I can do this. And I'm going to bring you with me on this journey. But you are not allowed to tell me that I can't do it, because I can, and I'm going to show you. So you can hang with me if you want, but I'm doing this, just like you would tell that best friend from high school, if she said, don't you dare go to that party, you could turn to her and say, hey, I love you. You're my best friend. You're always going to be my best friend. You're welcome to come with me to the party if you want, but I am not going to give up this opportunity because you're afraid. That's how you need to speak to your inner voice. That's how you need to speak to your inner critic, because it is there to protect you, and it is from love, but it is out of fear. It is preventing you from moving forward in your life because of fear. So I just really wanted to address that today, because it's something that comes up repeatedly, It doesn't matter what journey you are in your life. It doesn't matter what type of mom you are, or if you have young kids, grade school kids, or, older kids. It's something that's going to show up in your life for as long as you live. That inner critic is always going to show up, especially at important times in your life and in transitional periods. So just as you start to go, I'm doing this, I feel like I'm succeeding, that inner critic is going to get louder and louder, and you just need to let her know, hey, I'm good. I got this. I love you. You're awesome. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I've got this. All right? And it's times like that where you reach out for support. Turn to a friend of yours. That's what one of the things that I wanted to do with this group is come in here and say, like, oh my God, my inner critic won't shut up today. I wanted to do this and I didn't. And I'm going to share those moments with you too. You guys know basically the things that I struggle with have to do with my home maintenance. I do a lot of stuff in my business and I love spending time with my boys. But that's where I struggle. And I'm going to be open with you in those struggles and also tell you like how I get through that and how I get past it. And one of the ways that I get past that inner voice is by telling her, hey, I know I got this. I love you. Thank you for protecting me. I've got this. Okay? So this is me telling you, you've got this. All right? Have a great night and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.